You think you know what real hell is? Forget your garden variety fire and brimstone. We're talking about a place where flatterers are drowned in an endless river of human shit, where suicides are turned into trees, forever torn to shreds by foul harpies, where schemers are sliced in half by a demon and forced to stumble in a circle, clutching their own guts, and where the devil himself isn't burning, but frozen solid in a lake of ice, eternally chewing on traitors. This is the story they'll never teach you in literature class, and it will permanently scar your idea of justice. Even minor sins are a one-way ticket to eternal agony, alright? You thrill seekers. Think you know what a minor sign is? Maybe you ate one too many burgers, or spent a little too long creeping on someone's social media. Today I'm going to tell you why. In the good old-fashioned system of hell, even that kind of small fry stuff is a one-way ticket to eternal agony. Buckled up, let's ride. Let's start with a classic. Lust all those Romeos and Juliets, those Paolos and Francescas, who put passion before reason. You think a romantic eternity awaits them. Think again. Picture it. You are nothing but a raw nerve of desire. Forever. You and others just like you, naked and helpless, are swept up in an icy, filthy hurricane. And this ain't just wind, buddy. It smashes you against jagged rocks, slams you into the bodies of other sinners. All you hear is the howling of the gale and endless moons. Not a single second of peace. Just an eternal flight through darkness, pain, and despair. Simply because, once upon a time, you couldn't control yourself. How's that for a starter? But wait, there's more. Let's go deeper. Love a good meal. Gluttony perfect. Now you're lying in a freezing sludge. A vile, putrid rain lashes down on you, and the very ground beneath you is a slurry of mud, filth, and vomit. The stench is so bad it'll burn your eyes out of your head. And the cherry on this shit cake, the three-headed dog Cerberus. He doesn't just bark. He walks right up and methodically rips your body to shreds. Over and over again. You're rot alive under his claws, and it never, ever ends. Just so you grasp the scale of this. You're just a slab of meat in a filthy dog bowl the size of a city. And what about those who couldn't keep their anger in check? Flew off the handle, yelled at someone, welcome to the river Styx. Only it's not a river, but a stinking, viscous swamp. And in this mire, you flounder around with other angry bastards just like you. You fight, bite each other, tear out eyes, drown one another in the muck. An eternal, pointless brawl in filth, where your own rage is both your worst enemy and your executioner. Can you even imagine that level of hopelessness? And, of course, the misers and the spendthrifts think they get punished differently. Nope, they're in the same boat. They push gigantic, crushing boulders. They shove them right into each other, colliding with a sickening crunch. Bones break, screams, endless insults. Why did you hoard? Why did you waste? And so it goes in a circle for eternity. Mindless labor multiplied by the endless pain of impact. That's the price of greed. See, there are no minor sins. Lust, gluttony, anger, greed, everything we consider a forgivable weakness is a path to infinite torture down there. They won't tell you this in your literature textbooks, where Dante is just some great poet. No, my friend. This is a detailed, thought-out price list for human vices. So next time you decide it's just a small thing, just remember that icy hurricane and the putrid sludge. Think about it. We'll be back soon with another dose of damnation. Thought criminals are buried alive in fiery tombs. Alright, buckle up. Today we're diving into an abyss so deep that your average torture porn will look like a fairy tale. Forget the rack and the Iron Maiden. We're talking about a punishment that lasts for eternity, where your chief executioner is yourself. We're talking about thought criminals, buried alive in fiery tombs. Picture a vast, endless field dotted with sun. Only these tombs aren't made of cold marble. They are glowing red-hot like a blast furnace. From inside, you can hear screams and moans, but they're swallowed by the superheated air. This is the sixth circle of hell, according to Dante, a private resort for heretics, for those who dared not just to doubt, but to openly deny the faith. You get it. Their crime wasn't murder. Their crime was in their head. Now let's get into the nitty. Can you imagine the horror? You alive are thrown into a red-hot stone box. Your skin instantly blisters, bursts, and chars into a blackened crust. The smell, oh, that smell of burning flesh. Your flesh will haunt you forever. You scream, you beat against the walls, but your fists just incinerate. You don't die. This is hell, buddy, where the fun is just getting started. You burn eternally, forever feeling the fire consume your nerve endings, which, for some reason, never quite burn away. And here, my friend, is where it gets really interesting. This is the stuff they want to tell you in history class or on some boring literature lecture. Why this specific punishment? Because it's the perfect metaphor in life. The heretic locked himself in the tomb of his own mind, denying the light of faith. He chose spiritual darkness. Well, you asked for it. You got it. Here's your literal, physical tomb. And instead of spiritual light, you get eternal fire. You wanted isolation from God. Enjoy eternal isolation from the entire world in your own personal spiritual steam room. But that's not all. The lids on these tombs are still open. For now, Dante writes that on Judgment Day, they will slam shut forever. Imagine you're lying in this box of fire, and then total darkness. Just you, the pain, and the thoughts that brought you here. Not a sound from outside. Not a single ray of light. Scream all you want, no one will ever hear you. It's absolute 100% isolation. A never-ending panic attack in a superheated closet. So there you have it. A dark story of an eternal prison where the walls are red-hot iron, and your only cellmate is the soul you yourself condemned. And if you ask me, the scariest part isn't even the fire. It's that, in that fiery grave, you're left alone with the very darkness you invited into your own mind. And that darkness is more terrifying than any flame. The violent face, a 3-story nightmare of blood and pain. Alright, people, strap in. Today we're descending into the darkest corners of the human imagination, to a place where violence is met with ... Well, let's call it a 3-story nightmare of blood and pain. And I'm not talking about some made-up horror flick. This is a very specific system of punishment designed for those who raised a hand against another. So, the first level of this hell, picture a river, only instead of water, it's boiling blood. Yep, you heard me. A thick, stinking, bubbling river of blood where tyrants, murderers, and, of course, the violent are boiled alive. To give you an idea of the scale, this isn't just some puddle, it's the goddamn phlegathon, a whole river of boiling agony. And you can't get out. Why? Because the banks are patrolled by godsend, and these aren't the noble sages from fairy tales. They are brutal executioners, bows at the ready. The second some poor soul's head pokes out of the bloody mess, trying to gasp for air, an arrow sinks right between the eyes, and you're plunged back into this hellish broth to cook for eternity. Can you imagine the smell? A mix of iron, sweat, and roasting meat. I think that's rock bottom. Welcome to the second floor of our funhouse of horrors, the Wood of Suicides. Sounds poetic, right? In reality, it's absolute terror. Those who rejected their own bodies are now trapped in new ones. The bodies of ugly, gnarled trees. They can't move, can't scream like a human, only moan when the wind rustles their branches. But that's not all. Nesting in these trees are harpies, wild bird women with sharp talons and an eternal hunger. They rip off the leaves, which for these tree people feel like skin. They snap the branches, which feels like having your bones broken. And in their twisted heart, a dark blood oozes from the tree's wounds, and they can only speak when they are being tortured. Eternal pain and humiliation from creatures that also shit all over them. But hold on, it gets worse. They definitely don't cover this in your boring history lessons. The third ring of violence is for those who went against nature and the divine. An endless desert of sand, heated the sinners here lie, sit, or run aimlessly, completely naked. From below, the sand roasts them, charring their skin and covering it in blisters. And from above, a rain of fire falls slowly upon them. Not a downpour, but slow, thick flakes of fire that stick to the body and sizzle, burning right down to the bone. The stench of scorched flesh and hair is so strong it burns your eyes out of your head, and there's no shelter, no respite, just an eternity of being burned alive from both sides. So that's medieval-style justice for you. Brutal, no doubt, but it's a perfect illustration of what people feared most. So the next time someone gets nostalgic for the good old days, just have them picture this 3-story tour through a personal hell. I guarantee it'll cure that nostalgia instantly. 10 trenches of deceit. Alright folks, buckle up. Today we re-diving into an abyss so dark that your average scary stories will seem like child's play afterward. We're heading to the very heart of hell, to a place they call the Evil Dead. Yeah, it sounds like the title of a cheap horror movie, but believe me, this is the realm of fraud, and the creator's imagination was working overtime here. Forget about your cauldrons of boiling top. Things here are far more inventive. Let's start with my favorites. The flatterers, the same ones who spent their lives pouring sweet syrup in your ears, sucking up to the boss, and telling you that good awful haircut looks great on you. Know what happens to them? They're drowned, but not in water. They are drowned in a river of human Just imagine that stench, that thick, warm sludge filling your nose, your mouth, your eyes. You flounder in an endless sea of shit, and it's the perfect metaphor for your worthless life. You talked shit, now you swim in it forever. But wait. That's just the beginning. We move on and see a strange procession. People stumbling along, their heads twisted completely backward. Their faces are staring at their own backs. These are the prophets and the soothsayers. Those who dared to look into the future are now doomed to stare eternally into the past, utterly blind to where the hell they're going. Can you imagine the snap of their neck bones? That constant, choked sobbing as tears run down your own back. This is the stuff they don't teach you in your boring history. Lecture cell is just about pain. It's about black, sadistic irony. And what about the thieves? Oh, for them, a special kind of hell awaits. A snake pit. But we're not just talking about a snake bites a thief, and before your eyes, He bursts into flames like a matchstick and crumbles to ash. Then, from that same pile of ash, writhing in agony, he pulls himself back together. Another thief gets bitten, and he himself morphs into a serpent, his bones shattering, his skin sloughing off, until he's slithering away to sink his fangs into his former partner in crime. It's a never-ending cycle of transformation, agony, and betrayal. You'll become the very thing you feared. But the real sick shit is reserved for the sowers of discord, the politicians, the schemers, anyone who ever tore people apart. A demon with a massive razor-sharp sword is waiting for them here, and he just walks up and cleaves each sinner in two, straight down the middle, from chin to crotch. Their guts spill out onto the filthy ground, and there you are, clutching your own intestines, forced to hobble in a circle until your body, slowly, agonizingly, knits itself back together. And just as it does, the demon is right there, again and again, forever. These aren't just punishments. They are a twisted art form, a black poetry where every torture is a mirror of your sin. So the next time you feel an urge to lie, or to cheat, or to betray someone, think twice, hell, think 3 times. Think about this: the devil isn't in the fire. Alright folks, ready for another dive into the darkness? Buckle up today. We're going to smash one of history's most tired old tropes to pieces. Hellfire. Cauldrons, devils with pitchforks, sinners sizzling like sausages on a grill. Forget it, that's all kiddie pool bullshit. The real devil isn't in the fire. So where is he? The answer, to put it mildly, might just blow your mind. He's frozen. Frozen solid in the very icy heart of hell. Because the most terrifying sin in the eyes of God, or any sane person, for that matter, risen wrath, or lust, or even murder, it's betrayal. And you don't burn traitors, you freeze them. Picture this: an endless lake of ice Casitas. But this isn't just frozen water. It's the frozen tears of traitors, their own icy hatred made solid. Sticking out of this permafrost, up to their necks, are the heads of sinners, like some kind of freakish human. They can't even weep properly. Their tears freeze the instant they hit their cheeks, sealing their eyelids shut and locking their faces into permanent masks of horror and pain. They are fully conscious, but they can't move. For eternity. Can you even wrap your head around that? But wait, there's more. In the very center of this frozen nightmare is the master of the house, Satan. And get this is something they definitely didn't tell you in history class or Sunday school. He isn't sitting on a throne sipping a fiery smoothie. He's a colossal, grotesque beast, frozen to the waist in ice. He has 3 hideous faces, and each one is eternally chewing on something. And you know what's on the menu? The 3 greatest traitors in human history. In the central mouth, a place of honor, dangles Judas. Satan's claws are constantly raking his back, shredding it down to the bone, while his head and legs flail outside. Just to give you a sense of the sheer brutality, his body is eternally being torn apart, but it can never die. From the other 2 mouths hang Brutus and Cassius, the men who betrayed Caesar. You can barely see their bodies, just their legs twitching in a pointless, eternal agony. Satan's slobber, mixed with the blood and pus of these 3, drips down their bodies and freezes instantly, forming disgusting, blood-soaked icicles. So forget about the fire. Fire is passion. It's rage. It's at least some form of life. The worst sin of all cold and calculated deserves not heat, but absolute, eternal cold. A cold so absolute there's no hope of ever burning away. There's just you, the ice, and an eternity to contemplate your mistake. See you in the next one. And hey, stay loyal.